The small house stood at the quiet edge of the town where the road slowly faded into trees and open fields. A little girl named Mila lived there with her grandmother, far from noise and crowds. The house was old but warm, filled with simple furniture and soft light. Mila liked the calm because it made her feel safe and allowed her imagination to grow freely. Every evening she sat near the door and drew pictures of animals, trees, and places she had never seen. That night felt no different at first, and the world outside seemed peaceful and still. The sun had already gone down, and the sky was dark when Mila finished her drawing. The wind moved gently through the trees, creating a quiet sound that wrapped around the house. Her grandmother rested in the next room, breathing slowly and deeply. Mila stood up to place her drawings on a small table, thinking only about tomorrow and what she might draw next. Nothing warned her that something unexpected was about to happen. A sudden sound came from the front door, soft at first but clear enough to make Mila stop. It sounded like careful movement, not loud, not wild, but steady and purposeful. Mila felt her heart beat faster as she turned toward the door. No visitors ever came so late, and the town was known for its silence after sunset. She stood still for a moment, listening closely as the sound came again. Mila slowly walked toward the door, each step careful and quiet. She placed her hand on the handle and took a deep breath. Fear tried to rise in her chest, but curiosity was stronger. When she opened the door slightly, cool air touched her face and carried a strange smell from outside. Her eyes widened as she looked into the soft porch light. Standing there was a large police dog, strong and calm, wearing a dark harness that marked its duty. The dog did not bark or move suddenly. It stood still, as if it had been trained for this exact moment. What caught Mila's attention most was not the dog itself, but what it carried gently in its mouth. A small cub hung carefully between the dog's teeth, wrapped in nothing but the cold night air. The cub was weak and shivering, its small body barely moving. Its eyes were half open, filled with exhaustion rather than fear. Mila felt a deep ache in her chest as she looked at it. The police dog lowered its head slowly and placed the cub on the doorstep. Then the dog sat down and looked at Mila, its eyes calm but filled with urgency. Mila did not scream or run away. She felt something shift inside her, something new and heavy. She knelt down and carefully touched the cub, feeling how cold it was. The cub let out a soft sound, barely loud enough to hear. Mila knew at that moment that it needed help, and quickly. She removed her small jacket and gently wrapped the cub inside it. The cub stopped shaking a little, feeling the warmth. Mila looked up at the police dog, unsure of what to do next. The dog remained still, watching closely, as if trusting her completely. Mila realized that the dog had come to her for a reason. She stood up and carried the cub inside the house, holding it close to her chest. The police dog followed her steps until it reached the doorway, then stopped. It did not enter the house but stayed just outside, sitting tall and alert. Its eyes never left the cub. Mila gently placed the cub on a blanket near the heater. The warmth of the room slowly reached the cub's small body. Mila fetched a bowl of water and placed it nearby, even though she was not sure what else to do. She remembered stories her grandmother once told her about animals and kindness. Those stories suddenly felt very real. Mila felt nervous but determined at the same time. The cub slowly lifted its head and looked at Mila. Its eyes were clearer now, filled with life returning bit by bit. Mila smiled softly, feeling relief wash over her. Outside, the police dog remained silent, listening and watching. It was clear the dog was not leaving yet. Mila glanced toward her grandmother's room, wondering whether to wake her. She decided to wait just a little, wanting to make sure the cub was stable. The house felt different now, as if something important had entered with the cold night air. Mila sensed that this moment would not end quietly. Minutes passed slowly as Mila stayed beside the cub. The cub rested but did not sleep deeply. The police dog shifted its position outside, standing up briefly and then sitting again. Its ears moved at every sound from the road and forest. It was guarding something far greater than the house. Mila finally walked toward her grandmother's room and gently called her name. The old woman opened her eyes slowly, confused at first. When Mila explained what had happened, her grandmother's expression changed from sleep to surprise. She followed Mila into the main room and froze when she saw the cub. Her grandmother understood immediately that this was no ordinary visit. She looked through the window at the police dog and felt a deep sense of concern. The dog met her gaze without fear. It was clear the dog had made a decision that night. The grandmother helped Mila make the cub more comfortable. They worked quietly, aware that something serious was unfolding. Outside, the night seemed heavier, as if holding its breath. Somewhere beyond the trees, something had gone wrong, something that led a trained police dog to trust a child with a fragile life. As Mila sat beside the cub, she felt a strange mix of fear and pride. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew this was only the beginning. The police dog remained at the door, loyal and watchful. The town slept peacefully, unaware that a stunning chain of events had already begun. Morning arrived slowly, and the soft light of dawn filled the small house with a pale glow. Mila had not slept much during the night because she stayed close to the cub, watching every small movement. The cub rested on a blanket near the heater, breathing calmly now. The fear from the night before had not disappeared, but it had changed into quiet focus. Mila felt older somehow, as if responsibility had settled gently on her shoulders. Her grandmother moved carefully around the room, preparing warm water and simple food. She had lived long enough to know that some moments in life carried hidden meaning. The cub opened its eyes again and lifted its head slightly. Its strength seemed to return little by little, and that gave both Mila and her grandmother hope. Outside the door, the police dog still waited, alert and patient. The grandmother opened the door slowly and stepped outside. She spoke softly to the dog, not with commands, but with calm respect. The dog stood up and looked toward the forest, then back at the house. Its body language showed concern, not confusion. It was clear that the cub had been brought here for protection, not by chance. Mila watched from the doorway as the dog moved a few steps away, then stopped and looked back again. The grandmother understood this as a signal. Something else was out there, something unfinished. She told Mila to stay inside and watch the cub while she made a call. The town police station was small, but help would come quickly once they understood the situation. As Mila sat beside the cub, she noticed marks on its fur, small scratches and signs of struggle. The cub had been through something frightening. Mila gently touched its head, and the cub did not pull away. Instead, it leaned closer, trusting her warmth. Mila felt her chest tighten with emotion. She promised quietly that she would not let anything bad happen to it. The sound of a vehicle arrived from the road not long after. 2 officers stepped out, moving carefully and calmly. They saw the police dog first and nodded with understanding. This dog was known in the town for its discipline and loyalty. If it had brought a cub to a child, then something serious had happened. The officers entered the house and spoke gently to Mila and her grandmother. They examined the cub and shared concerned looks. One officer stepped outside and spoke quietly with the police dog. The dog responded by standing and turning its head toward the forest again. The message was clear without words. Soon, the group prepared to follow the dog. One officer stayed behind to protect the house and the cub. Mila watched from the window as the others disappeared down the narrow path leading into the trees. The forest looked calm from a distance, but Mila felt uneasy. She held her breath, waiting, hoping they would return safely. Time moved slowly as the sun climbed higher. The cub slept again, stronger now, its breathing steady. Mila sat beside it, listening to every sound from outside. Her grandmother tried to distract her with simple tasks, but Mila's thoughts stayed with the police dog and the officers. Something inside her told her that this story was far from over. After what felt like hours, voices returned from the path. Mila ran to the door as the officers came back into view. Their faces were serious, but relieved. The police dog walked beside them, its tail low but steady. They carried news that changed everything. Deep in the forest, they had found signs of danger. The cub's family had been trapped by a natural hazard, unable to move freely. The police dog had discovered the cub alone, separated and weak. Instead of staying with the group, the dog had made a choice. It had remembered Mila, the quiet child at the edge of town, known for kindness. The officers explained that the cub would need care before it could return safely. The forest was not ready for it yet. The grandmother agreed to help for a short time, understanding the importance of patience. Mila listened carefully, her eyes never leaving the cub. She felt honored but also worried. She knew this was not a simple task. As the day went on, neighbors began to hear the story. Some came quietly to the edge of the yard, watching with curiosity and concern. The town had never seen something like this before. A police dog trusting a child had stirred emotions in everyone. It reminded them that kindness could cross boundaries. The cub slowly began to move more, standing unsteadily and exploring the small space. Mila laughed softly, feeling joy rise through her fear. Every small step the cub took felt like a victory. The police dog watched from outside, calm but attentive, as if guarding both Mila and the cub. That evening, as the sun began to set again, Mila sat on the steps with the police dog beside her. She reached out and touched its fur gently. The dog did not move away. They shared a quiet moment of understanding. Both had played a role in saving a life. The grandmother watched from the doorway, feeling pride and worry at the same time. She knew the next days would not be easy. The cub would need strength, and decisions would have to be made. The forest, the town, and the people were now connected by this single act of trust. As night approached, Mila looked up at the stars and thought about how quickly life could change. One knock at the door had turned her quiet world into something much bigger. She did not know what the future held, but she knew she would face it with care. The cub rested nearby, safe for now, while the police dog remained watchful. The stunning events set in motion that night were only beginning to unfold. The next morning arrived with a heavy sky, and dark clouds slowly moved above the quiet town. Mila woke early and went straight to the cub, her steps careful and soft. The cub lifted its head when it saw her, and made a gentle sound. Its strength was clearly growing, and its eyes were brighter than before. Mila felt relief, but she also felt worry, because she knew the cub could not stay forever. Her grandmother prepared food and warm water again, moving with calm purpose. She had spoken with the officers late into the night and understood the situation more clearly now. The forest was still unsafe, and the cub's family could not be reached easily. Until things changed, the cub needed protection. Mila listened quietly, feeling the weight of those words settle deep inside her. Outside, the police dog remained near the house as it had since the first night. It barely rested, always alert to every sound from the road or the trees. Town people passed by slowly, speaking in low voices, sharing the story again and again. Some were amazed, others were worried, but all agreed that something rare had happened. Later that morning, one of the officers returned to check on the cub. He spoke kindly to Mila and praised her bravery. Mila did not feel brave, but she felt responsible. She watched as the officer examined the cub carefully and nodded with approval. The cub was healing well, and that brought a small smile to everyone in the room. The officer shared new information that made the air feel heavier. The forest path had become unstable, and moving the cub too soon could cause harm. More time was needed, and patience was the only safe choice. Mila felt her chest tighten as she realized this meant more waiting and more uncertainty. As the day passed, the cub began exploring more confidently. It walked slowly across the room, sniffing corners and furniture. Mila followed closely, ready to help if it stumbled. Each step the cub took made her proud, but it also reminded her that the cub belonged somewhere else. She tried not to think about that too much. The police dog watched through the open door, its gaze steady. At one point, the cub walked closer to the doorway and paused. The dog lowered its head slightly and remained still. There was no fear between them, only understanding. Mila noticed this and felt a strange sense of calm. In the afternoon, the sky grew darker and rain began to fall. The sound of rain filled the house and wrapped the moment in quiet tension. Mila sat beside the cub, telling it simple stories about the town and the trees nearby. The cub listened, resting its head against her arm. Her grandmother watched from a distance, feeling both comfort and concern. She knew Mila had formed a bond that would be difficult to break. She also knew that bonds like this could teach lessons that lasted a lifetime. She hoped Mila would learn strength as well as kindness. As evening approached, the rain grew heavier. Suddenly, a sharp sound came from outside, distant but clear. The police dog stood instantly, ears alert, body tense. Mila felt fear rise inside her as she looked toward the forest. Something was happening again. The grandmother quickly closed the door halfway and told Mila to stay calm. The cub sensed the change and moved closer to Mila, pressing against her side. The sound came again, louder this time, followed by movement in the trees. The police dog moved forward, focused and ready. Within moments, officers arrived again, responding to the alert. They spoke quietly with the police dog and quickly understood the situation. The forest had shifted again, and the cub's family was attempting to move closer to safer ground. The risk was high, but so was the opportunity. Mila listened as the officers discussed the plan. If the weather eased, they could try to reunite the cub soon. Mila felt hope and fear mixed together inside her. She wanted the cub to be safe, but she did not want to say goodbye. That night, Mila could not sleep. She sat by the window, watching rain slide down the glass. The cub slept nearby, warm and peaceful. The police dog rested outside, still guarding. Mila wondered why the dog had chosen her. She realized that kindness had no age and trust did not need words. As the rain finally slowed, the night grew quiet again. Mila felt tired but alert, aware that the next day could change everything. The cub stirred slightly and opened its eyes. Mila gently placed her hand on its back, feeling its steady breathing. She knew that part of her heart would always belong to this moment, no matter what happened next. The police dog lifted its head and looked toward the forest one more time. The waiting was nearly over, and the most important moment was drawing close. The final morning arrived with clear skies and soft light spreading across the town. Mila woke before anyone else and sat quietly beside the cub, watching it stretch and move with new strength. The cub looked healthier now, its movements steady and confident. Mila felt happiness mixed with sadness because she sensed that the time for a decision had come. Her grandmother entered the room and knelt beside Mila. She spoke gently and explained that the officers would return soon. The forest conditions had improved, and the path was now safe enough. The cub's family had been located and was waiting beyond the trees. Mila listened silently, holding the cub close, trying to remember every small detail of its warmth. Outside, the police dog stood proudly near the steps, calm but focused. When the officers arrived, the dog greeted them with quiet readiness. Everyone moved carefully, respecting the moment. This was not just about returning a cub, but about completing a journey built on trust. The cub was placed in a secure carrier, soft and warm inside. Mila touched its head one last time before the door closed gently. The cub looked at her with calm eyes, no fear, only recognition. Mila felt tears rise, but she stayed strong, knowing this was the right choice. The group began the walk toward the forest, moving slowly along the narrow path. Mila walked beside her grandmother while the officers led the way. The police dog stayed close, guiding them with confidence. The forest looked different now, peaceful and open, as if welcoming them back. As they reached a clearing, a quiet movement appeared between the trees. Shapes emerged slowly, cautious but hopeful. The cub's family stepped forward, watching closely. The officers stopped and waited, allowing space and silence. The carrier was opened carefully, and the cub stepped out on unsteady legs. For a brief moment, everything stood still. Then the cub moved forward, drawn by familiar presence. The family responded gently, surrounding the cub with warmth and protection. Mila watched with a full heart, knowing she was witnessing something rare. The police dog stood tall, observing the reunion without moving. Its task was complete, but its attention never faded. The forest seemed alive with quiet relief. The officers exchanged calm looks, satisfied with the outcome. Mila felt a deep ache as she realized this was goodbye. She had helped save a life, but letting go was harder than she imagined. Her grandmother placed a hand on her shoulder, offering comfort without words. Mila understood that kindness sometimes meant stepping back. After a few moments, the cub and its family slowly disappeared into the trees. The forest closed gently behind them, as if sealing the story. Mila took a deep breath, feeling both loss and pride. The walk back to the town felt quieter. No one spoke much, but the silence was peaceful. The police dog walked beside Mila, matching her steps. She reached out and gently touched its fur, feeling gratitude beyond words. When they reached the house, the officers thanked Mila and her grandmother. They praised her calm courage and her gentle heart. Mila listened shyly, unsure how to respond. She did not feel like a hero, but she felt changed. That evening, the house felt empty but warm. Mila sat near the door where everything had begun. She looked outside at the road and the trees, remembering the first knock and the quiet trust in the dog's eyes. The police dog visited one last time before leaving for duty. It sat for a moment, looking at Mila. She smiled softly, understanding the silent farewell. Then the dog stood and walked away, its job done. As night settled over the town, Mila lay in bed thinking about how one moment of kindness could shape a lifetime. She knew she would never forget the cub, the forest, or the dog that trusted her. The world outside returned to calm, but Mila carried something new inside her. She had learned that even a small heart could hold great responsibility. The stunning events ended quietly, but their meaning would stay with her forever.